President Trump made headlines last week by floating the idea of 50-year mortgages. So today we'll break down what they mean, why they're happening, and whether or not a product like this could make its way to Canada. This idea came from the US housing director suggesting that 50-year mortgages could be a game changer, cutting the monthly payment of the average American home by roughly 11%. Lower monthly payments sound great, but as always, there's a trade-off. Borrowers could end up spending hundreds of thousands of more in interest over the lifespan of their mortgage. That's why critics quickly jumped on it, saying it's a lifetime subscription to debt. Here in Canada, 50-year mortgages and 50-year amortizations do not exist, with the exception of CMHC-financed residential rental building, which encourages developers to construct rental units with a longer amortization period. For regular buyers, we're nowhere near 50-year amortizations, and regulators have been clear about that. Longer amortizations will push home prices higher over time, which directly goes against the federal government's housing affordability plan. For everyday buyers, there's an argument that long-term debt isn't necessarily a bad thing because you're paying those dollars decades into the future when they're worth less because of inflation. Mortgage debt is typically the lowest cost borrowing people have access to. And if amortizations are stretched and monthly payments decrease, that cash can be freed up to use in another financial vehicle, which may strengthen someone's financial position over a long period of time if used strategically and if used with discipline. 50-year amortizations could help some buyers get into the market earlier if they're prepared to take on that long-term debt. It also could make people stretch a little bit further for that nicer home because the monthly payment's going to be lower, which ultimately will push prices up over time. If Canada ever did bring in 50-year amortizations, it would likely be used as a counter-cyclical tool, meaning it would only really be available during downturns in markets to stimulate the housing market, not as an everyday option or a permanent solution. So while 50-year amortizations are making headlines, they're not going to be something we see in Canada anytime soon. And even though they do translate to lower monthly payments, they can cause issues for buyers, lenders, and the entire housing market long term. That's it for this week's real estate update. Thanks for watching and see you next week.